Now, when I was growing up, I was a huge fan of jet fighters. Still am. Still love the things. They're awesome. So naturally, one of the games I was interested in most was really any game that centered around flying jet fighters. And back on the Sega Genesis, we had games like F-22 Interceptor, which was a game that was really, I would say, cutting edge when it comes to console flight sims. Because flight sims has always been kind of a PC thing, mainly because consoles back then really couldn't handle the 3D effects proper flight sims kind of needed. F-22 was one of the first ones that kind of got it right. It doesn't look like much now. In fact, it looks like complete crap by today's standards, obviously. But for Sega Genesis, they actually did a pretty damn good job. So, when I picked up my Sega CD, I naturally looked for some flight sims to see if maybe they took advantage of Sega CD's, super awesome hardware back then to create a flight sim that was a bit better than F-22. And I found a flight sim, or so I thought was a flight sim. A game called Tomcat Alley for the Sega CD. Now, if you don't know what this game is, I don't blame you. But the thing about this game is that this is not a flight sim. That is not what this is. No. See, flight sim, that term requires that you are simulating actual flight in a plane or helicopter, depending on the type of game. That is not what this game is doing. That is not even close to what this game is doing. You know those really bad FMV games that basically have you pressing buttons at specific intervals to make a different part of the movie show? That's what this game fucking is. It's one of those. If you watch Spoonie 1's reviews, he's reviewed more than one of those blasted things. And Tomcat Alley is just another one. The Sega CD had way too many of these fucking things. And this is no exception. You're not playing the pilot in this game. You're playing the freaking technical officer. And if you don't know anything about F-14s, that's the guy who rides in the back and does the targeting and the waypoint setting and basically tells the pilot where to go next. And that's really about it. And that's what you're doing. I just gotta show you this. You gotta see how ridiculous this thing is. I don't even want to call it a game. Just watch this.
Oh man, I am so excited. Like, you have no idea how excited I am. Man, that's a really bad sandstorm. I mean, this grain couldn't be caused by the Sega CD or anything. Oh no. That just doesn't happen. You understand. I thought this was about frickin' jet fighters and shit. Oh, hello, cat. Oh, cause get it? It's about the game's about the F-14 Tomcats. They got an actual cat. Cause, man, what is with the car? How hard is it to make jet fighters exciting? Like, you don't even have to try. What's up?
Hey, kid.
I'm not a kid.
It's good to be home, huh?
This is a desert.
Let's go.
This is not home. Does this look like a house to you? You just pick up random cats you find on the ground? That's not even the same cat that we just saw, which implies to me that there are multiple cats living in this area. Do jet fighters just attract stray cats? Is that normal? That is the most plasticky looking fake stone wall I've ever seen. And okay, so you don't need the card to make the fake wall open up, revealing the secret base, but you do need a card to go in the door inside. Okay. Sensible. Man. Elevators. Yep, that's a camera. Ugh. Well, that was mind-numbingly boring. Let's try to get in the actual game. And I use the term game lightly because this type of game is about the furthest from being a game as a game can be. I think that's the best way to put it. The first cutscene in the game tries to explain a bit more, and by the way, this is one of those FMV games where you can skip non-gameplay cutscenes, and I can't even believe that's a term I have to use, but it doesn't really tell you what you're doing exactly. You don't really know who you're fighting against, although throughout the game you do finally get the hint that you're against a rogue Russian general or something. I don't know, I didn't care. The actual video is, interestingly enough, in full screen, which is actually really unusual for Sega CD games. However, this does show why a lot of games chose not to have the full screen video, because the Sega CD video quality is awful, and it has this really nasty grain effect going on, and it's really obvious in this game just because the video's full screen. But the first mission starts up and you're supposed to go out and destroy this bomber that's carrying this deadly chemical agent or whatever. I again, don't care much, because the plot is probably the most uninteresting thing in the universe. Really all you want to do is go out and fly some jet fighters, which you would do, if this was that kind of game. But instead, no. This is the game. You're looking at it. Well, you know, in between the video cutting in and out, which will happen frequently. The game is all about moving the cursor around the screen and selecting what to do next. And you have to do this fairly quickly at some points of the game. This is the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life. How is this supposed to be fun? How is this supposed to be entertaining in any real way? All you're doing is moving the cursor back and forth between the selections, and the game doesn't even explain to you what each selection is. You use the B button on the controller to select things, and you use the A button to fire missiles. The C button will actually turn the HUD off, so you can't see what you're selecting. And I have no idea why you would ever want to do that, but hey, that's what the C button does. You know, good to know. Never press it, ever. The game works like this. Your main objective is to select different waypoints and let the pilot fly you in the direction of where you need to go. It's almost mind-numbing that that's literally what you're supposed to do. The most exciting part of the game, and I stress exciting, is trying to target enemy fighters or enemy ground units and shooting at them. That's your goal. But targeting these fighters is the biggest pain in the ass because they're constantly jerking around. And you may be saying, well, that's more realistic, and I guess it is, but your cursor moves too slowly to keep up with them, and it can be very difficult to get a lock. Plus, your frickin' cursor will never stay locked long enough for you to shoot fast enough, so you're gonna end up missing a lot, because I swear to heaven and high hell, they timed this so that the lock will end just as you're about to hit the button, so you end up wasting more missiles than you care to. Another problem that I figured out is that, for the love of God, I'm fairly certain that all the waypoints and the engagements are frickin' random. Each mission seems to have engagements with fighters, and that's fine, but the amount of fighters you face is all different. For example, when I first played this, I was doing really badly in the first mission, so I ended up only having to shoot down one fighter. Then later, when I played through the game again, I did a lot better. I had to shoot down 3 of the bastards. So you're always going to have to use a certain amount of missiles before the game will let you move on to your main objective. This happens in every single fucking mission, and it's completely stupid. Look, the whole novelty of watching the video might have been nice at the time, you know, if the video wasn't grainy as shit, but Jesus Christ, I am just sick and tired of shooting down the same fighters, and eventually you will notice that they're reusing a lot of these video clips, and it's gonna get old. And it's gonna get old real fast. I will say that the music in the game actually isn't that bad. The sound effects are, well, I mean, it's Jet Fighter sound effects, so I guess I can't complain about that too much either. Another thing you're responsible for is avoiding shots by releasing flares whenever enemy missiles get shot at you. And this happens a lot more often than you'd think. Remember I said the whole thing is fucking random? Well, it is. Sometimes if you select a waypoint, the first thing that happens is an enemy fighter gets on your tail rather than the opposite happening. So you end up having to select the flare button in order to let yourself dodge the missiles. If you don't, you die. That's seriously what's going to happen. You're going to die. And you don't have a second chance at it as far as I can tell. I'm not sure if the game's even forgiving of this early on. If you don't select the flares, you will explode and you'll have to start all over again. And by start all over again, I mean you go back to the main screen. Fortunately, there seems to be some kind of save feature that'll let you pick up the mission you left off if you were past the first mission. So I guess I can't complain about having to restart the whole game, but it's still obnoxious that even in the first mission, the game is so unforgiving in this regard. You usually have plenty of time to reach the flare button, but what if you're on the opposite side of the screen? What if your cursor is all the way over and you don't get there soon enough? You explode. Great. Love it. So, after a bunch of trial and error, which is basically all this game is, I finally reached my main objective, which is this damn bomber. I am told that I have to lock on and shoot it down, which makes sense. The bomber's pretty slow moving, so this should be pretty easy. Until I notice that my missiles aren't locking on. My cursor's just hovering there. Well, what the fuck? Then after a while, my pilot says we're too low on fuel, we can't do it, and we go back to base. Then your boss chastises you, and you get another chance at the mission.
I'm gonna give you one more chance at that bomber. And you better make this one count if you want to keep your wings.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But what the fuck? I'm sorry, I'm a bit confused. Why aren't my missiles locking on?
So I was completely stumped. Fortunately, and I couldn't believe this even when I saw it, but there is one person on this planet, besides myself, who has not only heard of and played frickin' Tomcat Alley, but wrote a fact on it and on frickin' GameFAQs.
So, now that I realize that I'm actually supposed to switch missile types, which I didn't even know you could do, now I shoot down the bomber with no problem. I kind of wish the game had mentioned that. Maybe the pilot might have said, hey, we're not in range, you should use the other missiles, or anything of that nature to give you some sort of hint, but no, the game just expects you to know this stuff. It's a little bit disconcerting. The later missions are more of the same, honestly. You just keep having to shoot down enemy fighters using the same process. Dodge shots, lock on, shoot them down. Dodge shots, lock on, shoot them down. That's all you keep on doing. At the end of the second mission, you end up having to use the recon camera button, which lets you snap a picture, I guess. But what a useless frickin' button. Like, I don't know why it's even here. Like, why can't the game just do that automatically? Well, I guess they wanted a sixth button, and I kind of understand that, but you don't use it that often. In fact, I'm fairly certain it is the least used button on the entire screen, so what's the point? I have to say, remember when I said they like to recycle footage? That becomes way apparent in the later missions, especially if you have to play this game multiple times. You just realize that they only did a certain amount of explosions and flybys, and they only have so much stock F-14 Tomcat footage to use for the game. So they end up recycling a lot of stuff, and it becomes way apparent it can really spoil any experience you might have had with the game. Of course, I'm fairly certain the game already spoiled that by not letting you fly the damn plane! And it's not like the actors or the plot are gonna compel you at all. You don't really know who you're fighting or why you're fighting them. Just that they're evil, they have chemical weapons, and they're going to kill people. That's about all you really know. And the main cast really doesn't help carry you along. It's not the worst acting I've seen, I guess, but it's definitely not the best. Not even close.
The bridge is the only rail connection. Destroy the bridge, and we literally stop the train in its tracks.
The third mission starts off like normal, again, just shooting down more enemy fighters, like you haven't done this already. In fact, by this point in the game, remember how I said how much of a pain in the ass it could be to lock on? You actually start getting good at this. So it becomes mind-numbingly easy most of the time, which is the exact opposite problem. Now you're bored, now you're not frustrated, now you're just bored because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Here, however, you finally get some ground targets, which I thought might spice things up a bit, until I realized that killing ground targets is actually infinitely harder than fighting jet fighters. You know how whenever a fighter targets you, you have a chance to dodge the missile? See, with SAM sights, that those would be the ground targets in this particular mission. You don't get that chance to dodge. Once you target them, if you don't shoot them first, they will shoot you, and you will have not have an option to dodge. That is the most obnoxious thing in the world, and I actually can't be bothered to get past them. They shoot me down every time, and I don't get a second chance. That's obnoxious, and I have to go through the stupid shoot down the fighters thing. Who would want to sit through this? It is the most annoying thing in the universe. You don't have enough time to target them usually, and if you don't target them, they'll shoot you down. And again, you don't have a chance to dodge. Why not? Every other missile lock-on situation gives me an option to avoid the shot, but not with the SAM sights. What the fuck? One thing you may notice while playing this game is that if you don't react to things quick enough, things are going to happen regardless of what you do. But some of the time, whenever I'm in the middle of, say, targeting a jet, the dialogue from the other characters in video will interrupt me and then put me back to targeting it. Or what'll happen is that I'll get this crap.
I've lost visual on our bandit. Break left, break left.
He was just right in front of us. Did you lose him? You are the worst pilot I've ever seen. That's also about as far as I'm willing to play through the game. I don't feel like getting through this. It's gonna be more of the same. It's what it's gonna be. I feel like I've experienced all there is to experience. What with the shooting down of planes and targeting SAM sites. What else is there? The plot? Ha! Yeah, right. Okay, that's not a waste of time or anything. Jesus, heavenly God. I have no idea why back in the 90s developers thought that doing this would actually be entertaining for people, but it's definitely a failed experiment in video game history. FMV is so looked down upon now, it's not even funny. Nobody likes to see it, nobody likes to deal with it, and back then they weren't even doing it properly. It was one thing to use FMV in the cutscenes of video games. Soviet Strike and Nuclear Strike on the PlayStation did that, and honestly, those weren't bad games, but making FMV the entire point of the game was almost always an atrocious decision, and this one is no exception. I strongly recommend never even trying this game. The Sega CD may be lacking in good games, but there are plenty better games, even other bad ones, that are more entertaining than this pile of crap. I mean, at least Sewer Shark had some, semblance of control in the gameplay, and was kind of funny.
Don't you love the smell of the sewers in the morning? They smell like victory!
So, with that, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.